Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another BW Table Talk. And as you have seen, we have been talking about relationships. And so, because we're practicing social distancing with the corona pandemic going on, we have decided to do virtual table talks. And so, we're still talking about relationships. So far, you have heard us talk about friendships. You have heard us talk about in-laws. You saw my husband and I talk about marriage. You saw another good friend of mine talking about marriage. And so today we're talking about a relationship with yourself. So I have my beautiful cousin here with me, and I'm going to introduce her in a second. But we're talking about self-respect. We're talking about self-esteem. We're talking about self-love. So just like it's important to have relationships with others, it's also important to have a relationship with yourself. And so I'm so happy to have my cousin joining me for this table talk. This is a very busy woman. And I just want to introduce her. I have to go to her website because she's a woman of many talents. So I can't just tell you off the top of my head. So I'm going to read a few paragraphs from her website. Betina is a minister. She's professional and a life coach. She's a transitional strategist. Betina Hunt is an accountable and professional mentor to life changers, those looking to launch and live their purpose. That's the BW, baby. We try to live our purpose while elevating their faith, passion, and influence. She inspires, she empowers, and encourages women to live a balanced life by offering one-on-one and group personal and professional coaching and speaking workshops, seminars, and conferences. She believes that whatsoever you ask in prayer, believing, you shall receive. And for my Bible readers, you know that comes from Matthew 21 and 22. So also, I'm going to scroll to the bottom and tell you her mission. Her mission is to continue her teaching on how to apply biblical principles to everyday living. And in order to get this life right, we have to apply thus said the word, what the Lord said. And so to find out more about Betina, you can just go to Betina Hunt, that's Betina Hunt.com, and you can read more about her or even sign up for some of her services. So welcome to the Virtual Table Talk.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, it's so good to have you. And so here for the Virtual Table Talk, it's real laid back. We just keep it real, we keep it raw, and we keep it genuine. We believe that when we get naked ourselves, it allows others to take off their clothes. And so we find so many women in the circle who have come to the table talking about that they don't have that love. They don't have that self-esteem. They don't have that self-respect. And I think I called you on last year telling you about the men and women who have come to the table talking about that issue. And so normally when I have table talks, I have a box set up about topics that the women would like to talk about. And this is a topic I saw over and over and over again. That's why I called you. I said, hey, cuz, come January 2020, we have to kick this off. But I think because of your schedule and mine, we weren't able to do that. Because of this whole corona pandemic, me and you have got quarantined in, so we're able to do it virtually. So, cuz, let's get straight into it and let's talk about it. So,
let's get it.
Yeah, you're a life coach, a mentor. Why do you think that so many women suffer? Because you got the Donald Trumps of the world who think way too much of themselves, but then you have the ones at the other end of the spectrum who don't think a lot about themselves, who don't have that love, that self-respect. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's various components to that. I remember having a conversation with someone the other day and just thinking about as kids and how we as parents and adults train kids up for certain things. One thing we talked about was like domestic violence. So when little girls are in school and little boys like the little girls, what they do? They hit them.
Yeah.
You know, and with that, of course, the girls like, he hit me. You know, he ain't supposed to be hitting me. And what he like you, it's okay. And so at a very young age, you're teaching them, if a boy like you, it's okay for him to hit you. You know, and they don't realize as they grow older, this pattern is set in stone. Oh, he likes me, so he hit me. If he don't hit me, then that means he don't like me, because this is what I was taught. This was the foundation of what it means to like somebody at a young age. And so that's one variable in it, is that you know, and it don't feel good as you get older. Another variable, it don't. Another variable that I find is that the world, the media, family members. I mean, it's so many different dynamics, and it always go back to what you see, what everybody in the world deems is likable, is beautiful, is fine, is sexy, you know, and then you look at yourself and say, well, is that me? Do I resemble what everybody is saying? Do I resemble what everybody likes?
Yes.
And so unless you really have that connection with yourself, and really with God, I mean, because that is
more important.
That is the foundation of it.
Yeah.
You know, in order to love your.
Let me ask you this for a second. Let's go back for a second before we get too far in the conversation. Something you said brought up another question I wanted to ask you. You said you talked about family made a difference, and then you jumped to boys hitting little girls, and we think that's acceptable, which is so very true. But let's go back to family. How do family and friends influence your self-esteem? Because I know I was talking to a young lady one day, and she's a middle-aged woman. I'm gonna say that she's a middle-aged woman, and we were talking about this issue, self-esteem. And she said, growing up as a little girl, her mom always called her ugly, told her she would never be nothing, told she'll be just like her dad, and all she heard was negativity from her mother. This is not from strangers in the street. This is not from Facebook or Instagram. This was in the home. So how does family and friends influence your self-esteem? Or does it even, do you think it influences?
It does, because that's your foundation. That is the foundation of who you are, who you will become. And so if the family, those who you are, your first liners.
There you go.
Your first liners are the ones who impart validation.
Oh yes, there you go.
Or what we deem to validate who we are to become and who we are.
There are first liners. I like that.
Yeah. There are first liners, because as young girls and young boys, we're surrounded by family. So we don't know what's right, what's wrong. You know, what's a boy toy, what's a girl toy. What are boys to do, what are girls to do, until somebody show us, until somebody tell us. You know, I'm an only girl. I have all brothers. And so for me, you know, growing up, my brothers had trucks and race cars and racetracks, and I'm getting dolls, and I'm looking like, hold up, all three of them getting race cars. Why I don't get a race car? So that line of separation had to be established to say, hey, this is girls, this is boys. And out of that, you know, you see the difference in girls are pretty, girls are soft, girls are kind, boys are rough, boys are tough, boys are dirty, you know. So that line is there to differentiate the role of a woman, a wife, a mother, then the role of a son, a husband, a father. So that is where that first line starts. But when you have a family who degrades that, who doesn't give that esteem,
degrades you,
or that validation, then it is degrading. But if that's all they know, because I mentor kids in school as well, so I find that all the time where the little girls say they mother call them bees, and it's nothing.
Yeah, I've
because
actually heard that.
because because that has become their norm. So what's normal in our home is abnormal in somebody else's home, and vice versa. Degrading our children is not normal in our home, but in somebody else's, that is the way they talk to each other. That is the way they communicate with each other. They don't understand each other unless they're cursing each other out, but they don't realize and understand when they get out in the world that the world sees differently. So now they have to get out there and decipher, okay, wait a minute, this is what we do at our house, but they don't do that over there. So now there's a line and there's a consciousness awakening that happens when they get out in the world of what's what. And all they have is, when they get out there, is, my mama told me I'm ugly.
And I think that's so true when you come from dysfunctional homes. I don't think you know that you're living in a dysfunctional home until, like you said, you get out in the world and you be like, this stuff ain't normal. This don't happen in every household. We're dysfunctional. Right. And so sometimes you be in dysfunction so long till you think it's functional. Something else with the frontliners, you talked about the frontliners, and I like how you use that word, that we get that at home first. People have to love us first at home. We have to have respect at home first. And that self-esteem is built in the home first. How important is it, like you said, every time you say something, it brings up another question for me. You said you were the only girl brought up with boys only. How important is it for that father's love, for young women to have that self-love, that self-esteem, that self-respect? I know for me, I did not grow up in a home with my father. My dad was shot down when I was 4 years old. I grew up with my stepfather, but I grew up with the mindset that was my stepfather. It wasn't till I got older till I can appreciate that's my dad, and that's the only dad I know, and that's the only person who have treated me like a dad. And so coming up, I always look for love in all the wrong places, love that I actually should have gotten from a father. Does that make sense? And so
it does.
So even when I married my husband and we had our daughter, one of the things that I was real strong on is that, first of all, I took a lot out of this marriage for my daughter to grow up with her father in the house. And I apologize, you all, I didn't turn my phone off. I took a lot for my daughter to grow up in the home with her father. My marriage didn't start off as an easy marriage. I have a beautiful marriage now, but let me tell you, it didn't start off that way. But one of the things that kept me holding on, I can't even say it was my faith in God at the time, because my faith was not that strong. But it was knowing that I didn't grow up in a house with my biological father. And I wanted that for my daughter. I had two boys, and that was my only daughter. Now, I do have two other daughters, my stepdaughter, and I have a stepson, and I don't call them step anything. Those are my kids. Those are my babies. But I'm talking about biological now. Yeah. And so I wanted her so desperately to grow up in the house with her biological father. And one of the things that I stressed to him, you need to be the first one to give her flowers. You need to be the first one to tell her she's pretty. You need to take her on her first date. And I was adamant about those things, and he did those things. Yeah. And seeing that, I can see a difference in her versus myself. Does that make sense? Growing up without a biological father. So how important do you think that is? Or what role does that play in self-love, self-esteem, self-respect? This is real life, you all. We doing virtual talk from home. Can y'all come by? Just come by. My family trying to come through. They got food. And so how important do you think that is?
It is indeed very important. I was blessed to be raised in a home with both my parents. I mean, even now at 43, he still treats me like I'm 6 sometimes. Hey, baby girl. Hey, and I'm like, Daddy, look, I'm grown with kids and a grandbaby, but he still adores me as his daughter. And that is so very important growing up. My dad's an educator, so a health teacher at that. So, when I started my cycle, he, as weird as it was, he was the one to tell me, about my body parts.
Now, that's weird.
It is. I mean, and he's given the medical terms, which is like 25 letters. I'm like, okay, yeah, but no. It is very important, because with that, they teach you. What my dad taught me was love. How a guy should love me. Not so much as how they should love me, but what I should accept and not accept. He always told me he loved me daily. He always hugged me, showed me affection. And I remember one time, my brother, I don't know, he got mad about something, and he called me the B word. And I was like, yeah, he got mad, and I told my daddy, he called me, the B word. And the response, when I tell you, my dad got so mad and so angry at my son, at my brother, for calling me out of my name. And I saw how he reacted and responded. That let me know, hey, ain't nobody supposed to call me that. And even as I have grown, a lot of girlfriends, they play that with each other. I have never, since that day of knowing that I am not supposed to accept that, I do not accept that, being called out of my name. And that is because my dad showed me that this is unacceptable. Yeah, your name starts with a B, but it's Betina, not anything else. They can call you beautiful, and people laugh at me because they be, for those who don't know me, they be like, "What's up, B?" I'm like, "Hold up, that stand for Betina, right?" Let's get that straight. That's not with Betina, right? Nothing else. Like, yeah, I'm like, okay. So we gonna get that understanding first.
I was in a relationship,
and I think
I was in a relationship and called that many years, until when I hear that now, it just does something to my spirit. It vexes me in my spirit for somebody to like you said, they even say B. It's like I go to having flashback, like what you just say to me? And so but like you said, they need to be calling you by your name. I heard Tyler Perry say once, it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. But it's so much deeper than that, because when you've been called it leaves a scar, it leaves a wound. And when it happens to you again, it's almost like pulling the scab off a wound and pouring salt on it.
Yeah. And not only in that, it's not even just so much what you answer to, but it's showing that self-value and that self-respect. Hey, I mean, I don't have to answer to that, but guess what? I'm not going to allow you to call me that
either. Yeah.
I'm not even going to play with you like for you to think it's okay.
I totally
and that goes back to how you view yourself. And for me, like I said, that moment there that I saw with my dad, I was like, oh,
that was a turning point for you.
That was the defining moment of that is unacceptable.
And that is
that's
way to go, Uncle Jerry. Way to go, Uncle Jerry. You see this video.
It's zero tolerance.
It's
zero tolerance for that.
Yeah, I wish women could get that. I wish they can get that. So we talked about frontliners and the family, what friends and family, the influence they have on self-esteem and self-respect. When I read a lot of articles about self-esteem and self-respect, they talk about social media and how it can decrease your self-esteem and your self-love, because you go into trying to compare. And even if you feel like you don't have low self-esteem, and then you go to saying, oh, but they got this, and they got this, and they look this way, and their hair is this long, and their eyes are this color, and their skin is this color, and they're this tall. So how do you think social media affects a woman's self-esteem and self-love and self-respect?
You know what? It started long before social media. It started with videos.
Mm-hmm.
It started with TV.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing just think about VH1 and BET.
Yeah.
The women in those videos, they had the light skinned it. Someone was close to a Coke bottle, but really probably was a straw. But, but that's the image that they showed, long blonde hair, think about Tone Loc. The women in his video was always Caucasian women,
Mm-hmm.
with long black hair, with the
Mm-hmm.
little mini black dresses on,
Mm-hmm.
and so for that, if you think about other, when it got into the hip hop, more of the hip hop, the women, they wearing the short dukes,
Mm-hmm.
that is where it started, long before social media,
Mm-hmm.
because women were trying to imitate what they saw on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the era of social media have come, well,
Mm-hmm.
that bring it more closer to home, because now you're no longer just seeing the entertainers
Yeah.
or the dancers in the videos
Mm-hmm.
or the movie stars on TV.
Exactly. You see
I say,
everyday people
yeah,
who they show
everyday
their
people.
best days. They don't show their real life. They just show their best days. You know.
Right, exactly.
But we're so busy trying
Like,
to get this validation and these likes.
yeah, and that goes back to even long before social media, because those esteem issues were there before social media.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas if they didn't have that dad in the home and
Mm-hmm.
looking for love in all the wrong
Mm-hmm.
places, well, they went after the idea of what they considered love to be.
Mm-hmm. Do you think social media maybe make it worse though? Maybe the problem was there before social media.
It's,
You think
I think,
because our young people they stay on social media and they got to have the likes or the hits or whatever you do on tweets and Instagrams, the love stars or whatever
now when it comes to the youth, wow,
they would do anything to get it because
that's
to my
a
table talk, I
different
have
thing.
young and old coming. I have from
Yeah, yeah.
the 60s.
Well, you know what? It's a different thing because I mentor youth out as well. So with that, that's a whole different thing with the youth, because many of them don't have the validation at home. They don't have the frontliners at home. And so they get in these cliques with people who have this image that they deem is acceptable because of what they see on TV. All the little girls want to look like Beyonce. And I tell them, Beyonce get paid to wear her hair long like that and to dress the way she dressed and she get paid. That's her job.
Yeah. Yeah.
While you're going broke to look like Beyonce, she's getting paid to look like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure when she at home, she's not made up with eyeshadow, eyelashes. I'm sure her is pulled up and she is enjoying being who she is off stage from entertaining you all.
Yeah.
I'm and so with that, when
amazed at the extreme they'll go to. You have young women with their breasts out, with their butt out, they'll do anything just to get a like. And if they don't get enough likes with this video, they'll post something more extreme. And I'm just always amazed. It's like they're looking for that validation through the hits or the likes.
They are. It's just a new form, because before social media, you dress up and you did that and went to the club.
The Daisy Dukes.
Yeah, you did that. I remember in my teen years, at times I did that. I wear my halter top. I didn't, got to college and going to college parties, and that was, I guess, the trend, I would say. And as you say, it's an attention seeker. Who doesn't want attention? Everybody wants some form of attention.
They do.
But you have to look at yourself to say, how far are you willing to go, and what type of attention are you trying to get?
Because sometimes
the attention you try.
Yes, you get the wrong. I said because you can get the wrong attention.
Exactly. And so when you come to social media, now you have people you would probably never come in contact with personally. So now you have the opportunity to doll yourself up, Take a picture, get your friend, do your photo shoot on your phone and post your pictures for your likes.
Yeah.
Again, that goes back to, I've seen some very professional women. I mean, rocking the business industry, in the
Yes.
industry that they're in. And they will go and, do their porn spread. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You already successful. You already have the following. You don't have to demean yourself. But then that goes back to, how do you view yourself? Because you're putting yourself out there as an image to be accepted. And why?
And like you said, they're already accepted or they're already successful. But I think sometimes our past poisons our present. And because we never were validated in our past, even being successful and reaching those goals is still not enough, because we still don't have the love, the respect, and the esteem that we should have for ourselves. So
and
go ahead.
What I was going to say is, you can go back and look at where a person is spiritually, because that will, I believe, play a part in it too. Which side is stronger, your spirit side or your man side?
Yeah.
Because on your man side, your flesh side, your carnal side, it's I, me, and what I'm getting, who's looking at me, how do they like me? And if they don't like me, what I got to do to get them to like me, because I want to be liked. Yes. I want to be accepted. I want to be a part, and not realizing God has already set you apart.
Exactly.
God has already counted you in the number. But because you're looking at what the world deems acceptable, that you're forgetting and missing. I mean, you're already there.
Yeah. I think real beauty comes from the inside, and real respect comes from your character. If you want that respect that you deserve, it comes from your character, which goes back to biblical principles, who you are in Christ. I so agree with that. So let me ask you this, Betina. What do women do to turn this thing around? Okay, we got our ship going one way. How do we turn this thing around? How do we begin to love ourselves, respect ourselves, have that self-esteem? I know I even had a young lady at my table, and we were talking about, of course, relationships. And this particular table talk that I had was for single women. And they were saying, oh, this is what we have to put up with. And I'm like, oh, no, you don't have to put up with that. And it was like, well, Miss Felicia, you really don't understand. This is a younger generation, and these are the guys, and we don't have a big pool to pick from. And so sometimes they feel like they have no choice but to dumb it down or to lower themselves down. But even though they feel like that's what it is,